Glaceon. Glaceon has been coming back there ever since the buffs. They've been massive. They've been coming through. And now we are here into the draft. Spinal on your purple team. Infamous Game is in your orange. And Spinal has first pick with a Latios band.
Yeah, it's so interesting coming in at the very end of the broadcast. Like, I feel like whenever I join a broadcast, you know, we're talking about the metagame, we're talking about all this stuff, but we're already in the losers final. So let's talk about these teams, right? Spinal from NA, Infamous King from LATAM North, I believe. Of course, Spinal, a lot of very familiar names. JL Pure, Flareon's Vin, and OG. They played a lot against each other in the last UCS season, but now this might be a team looking to find a spot in the regional leagues in a couple of months. Unfortunately, no Sableye for you, Jonathan. As you can see there, Sableye being banned out by Infamous Gaming in their second slot. Mega Lucario, same thing up there. And Spinal is banning out all the supporters. So that's where we are.
Yeah. They're saying, get rid of all those supporters. You're denying Sableye on JL there. That's okay. We'll take out the Latios. We'll take out the Blissey. We'll take out the Clefable. I'm starting to sense an anti-pink gang coming in, which is kind of funny because then they lock in Mimikyu.
I mean, you know, it's not Wednesday. You can, you know, take some Pokemon out that wears pink, you know, if you get that reference. But Vin Diesel coming out with a really strong pick with that Mimikyu. I believe 2 patches ago, again, before the emergency patch. Shadow Claw, I believe, does more healing for the Pokemon. And a lot of teams, especially in the East, have been loving Shadow Claw Trick Room. I saw a little bit of that today as well. But really rounding out their frontline core is Spinal picking up that Blaziken and Crustle for Pierre.
Yeah, Crustle's a very dangerous Pokemon in the hands of Pure. We saw them. It was an Inteleon Crustle staring down 5 members of the opposing team. And it took a Crustle X Scissor to hit 4 so the Inteleon could get the secure on Groudon. And Flareon's bringing it back, so Infamous Gaming has to be wary of this dynamic duo.
Zacian, Metagross, and Hoopa coming out to play for Infamous Gaming. Let's take a look at that T-Tar. Oh, they're hovering over for a second here. The regular Gyarados also did get a few buffs as well, as we see a lot of all-rounders coming out to play. Let's count them out real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10 Pokemon are all-rounders. That just goes to show how strong all-rounders are in the metagame right now. One of these teams doesn't even have a formal attacker per se. I mean, it could say Gyarados, it has Dragon Breath, but it's mostly a Pokemon that gets up and in the face of the enemy team. I think one thing I do want to point out for both of these teams, they have a couple of Pokemon that really struggle in the early game, but also Pokemon that really excel in the early game. Looking at this Inteleon, this Mimikyu tend to do really well in the early game. On the other side, we have Zacian and Hoopa, maybe Psyduck as well, and other Pokemon, again, not doing so well in the early game. That Blaziken, Blaziken in particular, Metagross, and that Gyarados. I really think they built around the tempo of this game, and I really like how they put it together.
Yeah, I think the Comfey is going to be an interesting choice for Spinal as well there. There's a lot of potential to come from the healing in there, but also 3 melee Pokemon, 3 people that want to be up and personal. What can Comfey do? Sweet Kiss. That can start bringing everybody in, make them unable to act, set props up for that Inteleon to start sniping them down, allow for a lot of burst damage. So when you lock yourself out from a lot of ranged attack, you're going to have to be kind of mindful of how you go in for the engage. Oh my gosh, I'm tripping over my words. It's that late in the night, Draco.
Yeah, I do actually want to piggyback off of your thought there. Suicune is actually a good shout here because the all-rounders on the side of Spinal, they all have really good secondary healing. Talk about the Shadow Claw and the Mimikyu. We were just talking about that as it was most recently buffed. We talk about Blaze passive on the Blaziken. That Suicune pulling multiple members of the enemy team in. You can apply multiple Blaze passive procs on other Pokemon as you're being pulled in. You can hit multiple Pokemon with Shadow Claw. So really good shout there. I actually expect this Comfey to go Suicune.
Yeah, well, we're going to see here in a moment there. It's going to be trying to get level 4 as soon as possible. Just hit level 3, but the Zacian from here is putting out a lot of pressure here. Already, Infamous Gaming is off to a good start, securing a lot of these wild Pokemon.
Those Zacian, both these Pokemon actually do not evolve in the top path. For Infamous Gaming has really good last hitting, really good auto attacking, whereas this Blaziken needs really level 8 to be a real Pokemon and get that Stance Change Unite move. Within the bottom path, we still got our Magikarp just flopping around, but looks like Finn's gonna head down to the bottom path, hone those claws on that Hoopa before heading back over to their side of the field.
Yeah, Magikarp might be flopping around, but that effort bar is now 3/4 of the way done. We could see Gyarados by 8 minutes here, which could be really strong, but the 850 birds are up. And instead of a 4-man into the top, it's a 4-man into the bottom. No, sorry, that can't count. That's a 5-man down there.
Yeah, they quickly evacuated the top path. Zacian already level 5, having access to their primary ability moving on forward. It is going to be a medical. Can they get Vin? Vin gets chopped down to size. That's a huge pickup there for Infamous Gaming.
That is fantastic for them as well, because this is the experience that they want to be able to deny over to Spinal here. But we do have Torchic with the Comfey trying to get away. Nice little dashes there, but the problem is with that, it's still level 4. It needs level 5. Got to become a Combuskin, which it just did. But already got a nice engage down here on the bottom side turret, Draco.
Oh, huge secure there by Flareon. You can see the blue buff aura underneath them. They're going to trade Pure for that one. Metang heading into the central area. Still a Combuskin in the top path. Uh-oh. Zacian going to get the, or at least Mimikyu's going to get the revenge KO on the top path. It's going to give OG the path forward to get some scores in and potentially get closer to level 7. Really nice Blaze Kick to pull them off of the pad. OG about 50%. Got to be very careful. As you can see with the notification there, Regidrago going over to the not dragon type Pokemon as they head up to the top path as well.
And there is the Sweet Kiss on that Comfey there. That Mimikyu is going to be looking there. And the Sweet Kiss dives in with the Shadow Sneak. Great combination there as the Metagross tries to go in. Picks up the KO on the Combuskin. Taking it down. That's more time off the map. That's less time for it farming. That's a longer time until you get a Blaziken.
Yeah, honestly, this match is to be expected. Brawlers are on the field, and they have been doing all but that, brawling everywhere on the map, in the top path, in the bottom path, and we now have a Metang evolving into a Metagross with all those stacks in front of it as well. Looking straight into its eyes is that Combuskin. They need a couple more levels to at least get that Stand Chains Unite move.
7 minutes now has hit and passed. That means our objectives for each lane are in. We do have that teams are not going for them yet. We have Gyarados trying to go for the bottom there, but we have Mimikyu trying to get this Psyduck. This Psyduck is just surfing, dipping, and diving. It can't fly, but it might as well, because that waterfowl is going.
Yeah, nice peel there by the Hoopa, by the way. OG trying to get a stack hit. Can they get it? Unfortunately not, as both all-rounders, Steel-type all-rounders, mind you, on the top path, is able to stop that one away. Vin's starting to work quickly on the Regieleki. Here comes a snipe shot. Should be able to get a quick secure, and Regieleki bouncing over to the tier 2. Metagross has joined them in the bottom path. Not a Unite move for this Gyarados, as Vin might get another KO here, and they do.
Gyarados goes down. Nasty Rock Tomb stun into that, allowing Flareons to get that snipe there. This is what I mean, a dynamic duo between Pure and Flareons. Really hard to beat. You set that up, you get the vision. Then you beat them down and they go down. But Spinal has not been able to capitalize on the Regieleki. Infamous Gaming doing a fantastic job at defense.
Yeah, Spinal actually doing a fantastic job as well as keeping in the game. Unfortunately, that Blaziken still really struggling on level, staying in the top path. Infamous Gaming pushing on forward. Here comes the Sovereign Sword trying to get some shielding, but can they stay alive? They're really close to being knocked out, and they do. Here comes the full power Sayat to make some room for the team. Tier 1 goal zone might be going down for Spinal. They need to find a spine because they're at least losing their Tier 1.
Yeah, 147 to 69. 2 KO streak for the Gyarados. Now they're doing the invade into the central path there. Flareons tries to go for it. Crustle does a little deterrent, but it's not going to be enough. But let's take a look at the levels. 2 level 10s now for the side of Infamous Gaming, plus a level 11. And now we got double 11s and 2, or double 10s and 11. So Spinal has caught up. 5 minutes to go. 20 seconds till the Regiroulette in the top decides to spawn.
Yeah, like I was saying, doing a very good job at keeping in the game despite having a Blaziken really struggling on levels and Inteleon maybe not doing so well as well. Blaziken pulling Artemis back over to the right side of the field, followed by a sweet kiss, more like the kiss of death, a quick kiss of knockout. Here comes a Hoopa Unite me to bring everyone up to the top path. Can they defend this goal zone? It's going to be up to Spinal to test their defense as best as they can. Hoopa able to get a KO onto OG as they trail back over to the left side of the field.
Zacian is starting to rip on the Registeel. That's going to be attack and special attack increase if they can get it. Flareon's trying to threaten with the intel, with the snipe shot there, with the Azure Spy Vision going in. Mimikyu dives in, takes down the Hoopa, but it's going to be the Gyarados locked in the secure. Flowery Fields Forever comes out, and it's just a... Oh my gosh, look at all of that. The Crushing Compute comes down, and it's Infamous Gaming on the back foot now.
Oh my god, it is an absolute bloodbath here at the top path. Knockouts going either which way. Flareon's deep in enemy territory. Here comes a competing crush once again. Gyro Ball to roll them over. And here comes the OG. This fight has been going so long. OG has been able to rejoin the fight, get a knockout for themselves, and the Comfey has a new pocket.
Mimikyu now the first one to hit level 3. Blaziken not quite as close as it ought to be, but Regieleki in the bottom. We're already getting that on with the Zacian down there. They want to take it. They want to send it. They want to deny it to Spinal with 90 seconds left until Groudon hits the map.
Gohan retreating back over to the right side of the field. About a minute left before the final stretch, and Groudon appears once again. Spinal has been doing a fantastic job once again keeping in this game, but also testing the defense of Infamous Gaming, making sure they're not just comfortable sitting in their lead. Here comes Infamous Gaming testing the defense of Spinal this time. Can Gohan get the 25 in? No, appears there for the defend. Here comes the Gyarados as well in with their Unite move. Sweet Kiss pulling a couple of members in. Vin going down. Comfey in that pile up as well. 2 for 1. Make it a 3-for-1 combo here on Sunday.
Gyarados trying to score, but the Inteleon just keeps sniping it down, not able to do it. The Metagross says, move over, let me do it. You go on defense. Not as much of a break as over, 5 points under, but they get the pad, they take it down, and now it's 15 seconds till Reggie Roulette spawns in, and 30 till Groudon is here.
Yeah, 192 to 69, about 120-ish point lead here by Infamous Gaming. A perfect place to be. At least for Spinal, they have one thing that is tried and true since year 1 of Pokemon Unite. That is the rip and flip composition that they very much have. They got really good rip from the Mimikyu Shadow Claw. Same thing with Blaziken, securing by Blaziken overheat. Snipe shot from the Inteleon. They're not really positioning for it, but if they have it, they can go for it in their pocket.
Gyarados trying to quickly get that Unite move. Dragon Current could be the way to change this game. Everybody on Spinal has it, so they know they're behind, but they're looking for a way to get into this. They're very patient now, going in. Mimikyu looking for that shadow sneak target there. Hoopa trying to figure out who to trick and when to Unite move. Bring those rings unbound coming through, but it's the Gyarados diving in.
Zero Spy Vision popping off as well. Euro trapped in a hard place in the wall between the Crustle and this choke point here. It looks like Flareon's is way in the back line trying to shoot from way in their central area. OG the first to go down. Psyduck as well, less than 25%. Really nice X-Scissor there by Pure to pull them away from their Inteleon once again. And the fight starts to break out here in the central area. Sweet Kiss, maybe the kiss of death. Oh, responding with a sword themselves. Finds the throat of Vin Diesel.
That is 1, 2, 3, and 4 down. Now once more again, 4 down as Flareon's is the most recent to fall. Infamous Gaming is now splitting up. Blaziken going bottom, but the Metagross going top. Are they going to be able to get their 50 cap in? Because Pure is now back on the field. Can they hit the pad? Can they stop it from going in? They cannot. They're just going to jump forward, join the Blaziken, and I think they're going to do exactly what you said, Draku. They're going to go for the good old-fashioned flipping rip.
Blaziken on the field as well. They need to make sure they're in their kicking stance change. Oh, they used their overheat there. Can they make it back over to the ground to start working on it? Artemis doing their best to try to frontline for the team. And Gyro Ball finds a KO. Super effective damage onto the Crustal. Groudon brought down to 50% or less. Game 1 and a real hair sliver between the two teams. Groudon, who's going to be able to get it? I think it was the Gyro Ball. Infamous Gaming wiping Spinal off of the map. And these scores don't matter here. Game 1 going over to LATAM.
Oh my goodness. This was a great shutout by Infamous Gaming on Spinal. They were able to just keep the pressure on and keep the momentum against them, throwing them off their rhythm and just saying, listen, you might have Sweet Kiss, you might have snipe shots, but we got tenacity, we got brawling, and we also are on top of you and in your shadows.
Yeah, it's really tough, this team that Spinal has put together. They really need a really strong early game Pokemon. You know, when you think about Blaziken, it really needs level 7 to get overheat, and then further to level 8 to get that stance change Unite move. And you can see here OG really struggling on damage, 37,000 damage for this player. But again, a kudos to Infamous Gaming really finding their outs here really early on in the game, making sure their Zacian wins their top path, and then continuing to win throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job shutting down the synergy options from Spinal. Spinal got some really good plays in as well. We saw some really strong rock tombs from Pure. Flareon's able to follow up there. Vin able to follow through with some shadow sneaks as well. And JL just popping in some really clutch out sweet kisses there. But unfortunately, the momentum was against them. That they, I believe Spinal might have had this game if they weren't feeling the pressure and the need to try to look for a fight. I think if they pivot to a more score-based strategy, but again, Infamous Gaming, strong defense, Draku.
Yeah, I think the game was somewhat decided in the first minute and a half to 2 minutes of the game. You know, they sent all 5 members of Spinal to the bottom path. I think Infamous Gaming had the Zacian and I think one supportive member in the top path by themselves. And with 5 members and somewhere else on the map, they really need to get that value, get those levels. And unfortunately, they didn't really get anything for their Blaziken. They returned to top path, and then they had a Metagross all of a sudden looking them down as still a Combuskin,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, they needed to find a way to get OG back online. They did eventually, right? They left them in the top path. They tried to hold their tier 1 in the bottom path. They lost that. So, in terms of trading, it went really well for Infamous Gaming, right? They made sure they had the pressure on that top path player, and then as they were trying to catch up, trying to get pressure elsewhere on the map, pivoting down to that tier 1, getting that break really opened up the field for them.
But just like a Gyarados, got to have a memory of a goldfish. Wise men once said that. Can't remember who. But Ballistici's going to be banned. Now Spinal coming into game 2. At the game 1, that was just it. That's all it was. It was just a warm-up match. They're going to come back. They're going to take 2-0. That's the mentality you got to have when you come in, when you're in a situation like this. They're taking out the Blissey. They're taking out the Clefable. I think another Pinkmon Hoopa is on the table too. Man, they really are anti-pink today.
Yeah, anti-pink today, definitely they are. One more ban over to Infamous Gaming, and it looks like that Sableye might be up there as well. Yeah, I mean, if you talk to Jonathan, that might be a Pokemon that does Mega Evolve somewhere, just not in this game.
Not in this game yet, but when it comes, remember, you got that could be 4 Sableyes potentially in a non-draft game, haunting your dreams, your games, your ranks and whatnot. So you got to be very, very careful there. But once again, Mimikyu worked for them in the last game. According to Spinal, they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to bring it back. But Infamous Game is going to come back and they're going to say, hey, look, Psyduck and Zacian, hey, remember these guys? They're coming your way.
Yeah, Mimikyu is a really strong Pokemon. I don't know if it's a really strong Pokemon early on in draft. I feel like it's just a Pokemon that can get countered very easily. You get Pokemon that are really bulky. You just get a lot of crowd control. I mean, that's exactly what Infamous Gaming did. They didn't pick in a single attacker, and Mimikyu has some flavors of a speedster type Pokemon. It doesn't have that much HP. It does have some self-sustain with Shadow Claw, but it reminds me a lot more of a speedster rather than being a traditional all-rounder. This is exactly the same game plan that Infamous Gaming is going for. They're really trying to target out this Mimikyu pick by bulking out the roster.
They are indeed. Metagross coming back in along with the Mamoswine. Very strong Pokemon. Very late, though. And somebody who isn't very late that gets their combo relatively early, Suicune. This made it through the draft, and JL's got it, and they're ready to bring the ice and the freeze and all the pain and frostbite that comes with it, because when you've got a comp like this, you've got a Zacian that wants to go in, a Mamoswine that wants to go in, a Metagross that wants to go in. That is just lining up to keep Ice Beam.
Yeah, OG going in with one of their aces here with Lucario. I'm not super sold on the regular Lucario going into this team composition in particular. If it is going to stay a power-up punch Lucario, it leads me to believe that because it has that eject button on it. You typically go full heal if you're playing E-Speed. But even with a power-up punch, like both of the ability sets that regular Lucario can go, I don't know if it can go toe-to-toe really well with these two all-rounders, plus a Mamoswine and a Psyduck. There's just a lot of crowd control, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not a pro player, and this is one of OG's best Pokemon here, but not a super big fan of Lucario, especially in the, I guess, 8th and 9th pick for Spinal. Going in for Infamous Gaming, rounding out their composition with this Mew. Honestly, this Mew should feel fairly protected. I mean, there's not a whole lot of dive on the side of Spinal. You have 4 very tanky Pokemon sitting in front of it. I don't think Euro is going to have a single knockout for themselves this game. Like, if they're getting knocked out for themselves, sorry.
Yeah, they definitely have the tools to stay away, to keep the range and keep the spacing between them. That's going to be incredibly crucial for them when they do that. But the Miraidon too, tale as old as time for the Ultra Series this weekend. Miraidon up against Mew, specifically Flareon's always finding themselves up against the Mew somehow. So this could be the counter to Flareon's. It's worked in the past. Maybe it'll work for Infamous Gaming today.
Yeah, Miraidon is just a very consistent Pokemon. Same thing with Mew as well. If it's a very proficient Mew player, they're really hard to lock down. It has a get out of a jail free card with its Unite move at level 8. Miraidon doesn't have those same, I guess, benefits. It doesn't have a get out of jail free card, but it does very good damage. It is not an evolving Pokemon, so you don't have to worry about it scaling super late. And it's just consistent. Right? I think that's just the flavor of the week for, honestly, the flavor of the year for attackers. If you're a consistent attacker, then you're going to be high in the metagame.
Absolutely, but Infamous Gaming is in match point position now. One more Wayne, and they will join CACM as the second Latam team to join the grand finals today. We can see Latam on Latam action, but first, they got to take out Spinal, who is ready to rumble and is already taking a nice power position within these lanes.
Look, adaptation for Lucario. At least in this early game, Lucario has a better last hitting potential relative to a Torchic. Meter match quick attack, I believe, is a dash ability. What it is off the top of my head. Here comes Wind, though, honing those claws once again on a Psyduck. They can use that little telekinesis push with that pass ability to push him back over to the center, Matang, taking the Natsus in the middle.
Yeah, but we're not done yet because 850 birds are here. Are we going for the KOs? Are we going for the engage onto those wild Pokemon there? Get the experience. They're already gone. We're going straight for the KOs. Mimikyu's getting that Shadow Claw off, but it's not going to do anything much. Going to chunk the Matang though, backing it away. So all of a sudden, Infamous Gaming's momentum is now shook up.
Already in a better spot here is Spinal, but there's going to be 4 members of Infamous Gaming going to test OG once again. It is going to be a power-up punch, landing that onto the Psyduck just to get away. JL might be going down here. I'm not exactly sure what he was doing there in the top path. Maybe trying to defend the goal zone, but with OG evacuating, I think that was just a free KO over to IF Gaming.
Yeah, that was a really good bait, feint, and switch there. They were just waiting for that Mimikyu to leave, and they pushed the pad. They got it, but Reggie Drago is now here, Draco, and this is going to be some massive experience for the team that takes it.
Yeah, 30 points in for IF Gaming. Not too much in the early game for Spinal. 0, actually. Regidrago is going to be left on its lonesome. I think the Zacian heading into the central area. Pure's getting some vision along with Flareon's right next to a Charge Beam ready to go. Can they get this Mew once again? Getting that last hit. Not only is it a very consistent attacker, has a lot of mobility tools, it also has pretty good last hitting potential, as we see here. He's dancing them on OG. OG, I think, on a cooldown at the moment, or just wasting the time. There's a power punch to get the knockout there. Maybe want to get KO a little bit earlier. It looks like they're not going to be here in time for the birds, as Vin making some work in the bottom path.
The Crustle comes out with a nice Rock Tomb, preventing the Matang from going in. All of a sudden, those birds are gone towards the side of Spinal. They are not waiting for any, they're not resting on any laurels there as the Zacian gets pushed out, but it's little Luca up in the top here trying to score 30 points, gets it in the face of Zacian. Now all of a sudden, it's Suicune's turn.
Oh, able to get both of those in. OG's a little happy about that one. Here comes Lucario. Power punch followed by that close combat. Actually flipped that, reversed it, other way around. Knockout nonetheless.
Yeah, they're coming in now as well. Miraidon with the Charge Beam coming through. Crustle getting caught out, but doesn't get taken down. Mamoswine decided, you know what? This isn't the time for that kind of an engage. You got to wait for everybody to come back. We do have our bottom Reggie already gone and eliminated, and one more in the top, ready to be taken.
Yeah, huge adaptation here for Spinal. Finally able to get OG in a pretty comfortable position. Here comes the Aura Cannon. No Mega Evolution here, as it is only just a regular Lucario. Has been here for a very long time. Mimikyu able to get a KO for themselves. Really nice assist there for JL. You know, this Pokemon, Suicune in particular, it has been nerfed a number of times, and it is still finding its way at the early parts of draft because of how consistent it is as more of a defender like Pokemon rather than an all-rounder as it is classically categorized as. Here comes Infamous Gaming. They will need to get a defend here. It should be easy, but let's see what Spinal decides to do. It's the first time in this set they find themselves in the driver's seat, and it looks like the Mii is going to hold down on that D-pad, make their way back home, and here comes Spinal, maybe looking at this tier 2.
Zacian's taken down, but they do manage to finish off onto that Regieleki. That's not going to be any free scores coming in. The Metang comes in with the compute and crush. Get on that Crustle with the wall there, but nobody else was trapped in. Gotta let him go and gotta let him back off there, but still solid defense from Infamous.
Really nice close combat, able to get the NDD as they make their way back over to the left side of the field. Next, Reggie in the bottom path, spawning in 20 seconds. Let's take a look at the field state so far. 50% of the game has been completed, 119 to 30. A very different look for Spinal as they find themselves with a more, almost a 100-point lead as we head into the second half of the game.
I would say the levels are even. 2 level 10s, couple level 9s, everything's going good, except that Mimikyu sitting at a whopping massive level 12 here, and that could be the difference maker, and it will be the difference maker coming into these fights. How do you handle the Mimikyu here as the charge beams are running down from Flareons?
Yeah, it is ripping through the HP bar of that Mamoswine. Effective damage doesn't matter here for that ground-type Pokemon. Registeel being cut down to size and burned by the charge beam. Can they get it here? No. Unfortunately not, as the Zacian hones that sword onto the Registeel. And here comes Infamous Gaming. They do have a Registeel buff. Here comes a Bright Future Meteor Storm and that charge beam once again. Metagross found on the left side of the field. Here comes the Aura Cannon, but is going to be stopped there by the Play With Me Unite move. So kind of a wasted Unite move there from Lucario, but nonetheless, Metagross being melted at its sides.
Infamous Gaming is now on the back foot. They got to bring out the ultimate defense as they now try to push Spinal off their pad here, but the Rebel Rouser comes out and the ultimate defense breaker comes through as they start scoring these points. 280 to 30 with 45 seconds plus 60 till Groudon spawns in and a Regidrago to make one final appearance.
Yeah, wonderful math there by my co-caster, by the way. Minute and a half remaining. Let's talk about IF Gaming. What do they need to do to get back in this game? Well, all of their Pokemon have scaled, so that's already not a very good look for them. They need to try to get to that level 13. If there's one thing they have benefit to their side of the field is they will have more wild Pokemon appearing on their side of the field. I don't anticipate Spinal to move forward with this Regieleki. They may take a look at these birds. They're going to take those quickly off of the field. Regieleki going to defend it easily, and now Spinal has to wait for the next 3 minutes to hopefully force a game 3 scenario. The driver's seat definitely in Spinal, but IF Gaming needs to make the next move.
Yeah, Infamous does have advantage where they are 2 T1 pads up for the side of Spinal. They could easily make a push here during the double points to get something going. Go for a back cat, do something. So options are there, opportunities are there. It's just how do you go about the engage on this? With 40 seconds left there, with 15 on the bottom Reggie, I think you just go for a pit placement.
Yeah, I think they will need to, definitely. I mean, take a look at where the Zacian is right now. They're going to get caught out here. And Lucario trying to go in for the 2v1. Here comes Flareon in for the support. Can they make it their way here? Forced to use their Unite move, by the way, and gets knocked out with 20 seconds before the final stretch. This might be IF Gaming's chance to find their way into the game.
Yeah, Infamous is taking it down. The Rebel Rouser finally ticking in for Pure there, but they're going straight for the scores. They got 40 in, they're going for another 43. They're back on the map with 113, but that's still a massive, massive deficit that they got to overcome. Groudon is here, double points are here, and Spinal's in control of this pit.
Here we got a shadow tag by the Mimikyus, maybe push them off of the light screen. Pivoting on the top path, or the upper part of the Groudon pit is Infamous Gaming. Another shadow sneaks, lands onto a not so target they want to jump on, that Mamoswine in particular. Looks like Cebus is getting some vision in the lower part of their central area. Zacian just building up some of that Eos energy to make sure they have Intrepid Sword Eos energy to burn. Charge Beam just poking at Infamous Gaming, still sitting on the top path of the Groudon on pit, and both teams looking at each other on either side.
Yeah, they don't have much healing on the side of this Infamous Gaming there, so any charge beams that are connecting is just going to be felt and hurt. Metagross going in on top of the Groudon, trying to bait them in. They're getting behind Pure. They're right in the middle of it. They're Compute and Crush traps Pure in, but the Rebel Rouser comes through, and the Bright Future Meteor Storm. So really, who in reality is the one that's trapped?
No KOs on either side here. Suicune left on a pixel here. First KO going over to Spinal as the Mamoswine is the first to go down. That is a huge centerpiece for their team as their main frontline defender is going to go down here. Spinal not opting to pivot onto the ground, and it's already brought down to 50%. That charge beam ripping at it away. Zacian gets burned by the charge beam. Enhanced variation of the charge beam, and here comes Spinal. Can they find an entry point here? Here comes the infinite ice spikes to freeze the battlefield. Groudon recovering back to full, and Spinal 280 to 113. Infamous Gaming cannot find an angle in.
Yeah, with their 2 carries down, the damage is gone. They have to find a way, but it's Lucario sitting on that top pad there, and already OG is down there to try to stop the Mew going in. Takes down the Mew, 9 seconds to go. Infamous Gaming is not going to be able to come back from this, and we're going to a game 3.
North America stays alive in the INGAGE Ultra Series as there is still a LATAM team waiting, itching in the wings in that grand final set. CACM just watching and learning to see what they can do to have an upper hand, even though they have one already, as they are our grand finals team. 280, 113. North America stays alive.
They do indeed, and now it all comes down to one last match. Once whoever wins this game number 3, Draco will be joining our LATAM team, CACM, up in the winners grand finals to take the entirety of the Ultra Series, and that's going to be amazing to see.
Yeah, I wish we had a moment here to take out a teleprompter to really pick apart that that final stretch fight. One thing I do want to, it was kind of off screen. It was during one of your casting moments, but there was a 1v1 between Vin and the Mamoswine kind of in the bottom path, and that is really like I was saying, the centerpiece of their team. And so after that fight was over, there was no KOs between those two players, but the Mamoswine was brought down to 50% and was out of position while the rest of their team, Infamous Gaming, was kind of scattered in the Groudon pit. And I think even though that was off screen, that small skirmish actually set up Spinal for having a really strong foothold in the central area, not allowing IF Gaming to either go for a score or onto the Groudon because their core piece was fragmented.
Yeah, without that dissuader right there with Mamoswine, without that Ice Fang to keep things going, without the engagement from that Earthquake to set up those potential fights and the brawls there, all of a sudden Infamous Gaming found themselves on the back foot with the first KO of that Mamoswine going down. That really put them at a disadvantage here, and they gotta watch their positioning, or at least follow up when somebody's in trouble, because that losing a key piece right then, right there, was not the way to go about it. And unfortunately, it did set them up behind. But Spinal did a great job, capitalize on it, pushing forward, being patient, knowing that they didn't need to fight. They just said, "Come on in, we're waiting."
Yeah, I also want to give a huge shout to Flair. I feel like he also did a huge, spectacular job with that charge beam Miraidon. It's one of the more, I would say, simpler movesets to play, but nonetheless, it is so impactful. Like, it does so much rip damage onto some of these bulkier targets that might have used their abilities in like a brawl or a skirmish or a team fight. But that charge beam Miraidon, you have the first 2 hits of the charge beam, and then you have that enhanced variation, and all of those pieces just do really well for that Pokemon in these larger 4-on-5, 5-on-5, 3-on-3 team fight engagements. And I didn't get to see the damage number on that player specifically, but I anticipated at least being 75k, if not 100 that game.
Yeah, Flareon's on that Miraidon has just been demonic today, even yesterday too. You can't underestimate those attackers in their hands. They just come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, we didn't really feel that. Oh, they didn't do all that much. You look at the damage numbers, you're like, whoa. Turns out we felt that a little bit more, and we got a little bit more of an electrical burn on our hands.
Yeah, another Pokemon that I haven't seen all too much was a Glaceon. I think Lost MTZ was the last team that pulled that one out in the loser semifinals rounds. But here we go, quick break as we're back into our losers final set, and this is going to be our last game of the losers final set as we're in a game 3. Winner of this will be facing CACM esports in the grand finals of the INGAGE Ultra Series, and the other team is going to be watching the Ultra Series at home. Well, I mean, everyone's really at home, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can't help but feel a little targeted, just like JL there. Infamous Gaming. We're now 3 for 3 bans on that Sableye. Come on, guys. I think we need to have a talk here. Like, listen, like, Sableye has got to come in at some point, and if you're afraid of it, just pick it up. Just use it. I promise you, you won't lose games with it. It's a great Pokemon there. But another great Pokemon that they banned out, Clefable. Another Pokemon, Hoopa. And Spinal taking out their own Mimikyu?
Yeah, take a look at this. A very interesting strategy here by Spinal. Not 3 supporters. I mean, Mimikyu might be a supporter if you consider supporting your team by KOing the enemy team. Then okay, then Mimikyu is a supporter. But that does leave, I can't recall what the last supporter there was. I think it was Hoopa that was up there. But Hoopa's banned out on the other side. That will leave Mega Charizard to be first selected here by Infamous Gaming. I think also Charizard, I think it is a stronger pick than Mimikyu. You know, I don't know if it's still a first pick really strong Pokemon, because like Mimikyu, it has really good options to enter team fights, engage on team fights, but not very many tools to escape team fights. So I anticipate Spinal to really build around the core with a lot of crowd control. And take a look at this. Let's pull out a Pikachu EXP share. That's not a Defender pure. And we also got OG on a Buzzwole. So I mean, like, might be one of the best Pokemon in the game, but it's not better than crowd control, and that's what Spinal is pivoting towards.
Pikachu, not a defender. You see that, Buddy Barry? You see that energy amp? You're just gonna spam those thunderstorms, and you're just gonna keep buffing you and your allies with those shields. What could be tankier than that? Crustal, apparently, Infamous Gaming, gonna deny it from the side of Spinal, and they're gonna pair it up with a Miraidon. They're gonna take Spinal's own combo and use it against them.
Let's see what Spinal's got cooking up here. We got a lot of defenders coming out with also a supportive Pikachu. Could this be a carry defender? Maybe. I think it might be a carry Trevenant. Mind you, this might be a pain split Trevenant. I feel like it might do really well into the kind of lower DPS of this Miraidon and also into this Charizard as well. So I anticipate if this Trevenant does go pain split, this Charizard is going to have a lot of trouble despite being at a fire type and Trevenant being, well, a grass type.
Yeah, Spinal's going all in on the Charizard counters there. They're going to lock that down with a potential mean look, or maybe they'll foul play into a Snarl there, into another foul play to lock it down. Trevenant, yeah, as you said, Wood Hammer, Horn Leech, Curse, they're all really strong moves that could really shut down a Charizard there, and even not possibly a Talonflame to help burst that. Spinal is here for the anti-Charizard fake shiny coming through here, because we got Psyduck and we got Zacian for Infamous Gaming.
Alright, so looking like a more classic EXP share team composition here for Spinal, as Flareon's going to pick up that Pikachu in the bottom path going up against this Miraidon. Yeah, like I was saying, like when we were right before this set had begun, when a Mega is on the field, you are building your team around it, or you are building your team to combat that Pokemon. That's exactly what Spinal did. And for Infamous Gaming, I mean, they got a Mega Pokemon, they got formerly known as EX Pokemon. They're going the legendary route here. I think Psyduck is also legendary in its own right, honestly.
I'm just saying, they had the option to monopolize all of the Mega Pokemon currently in the game. They banned out the Luca, but there's still 2 Mewtwo's. That would love to see some action anytime soon in any of these grassroots tournaments, maybe even UCS League. Who knows? They recently got buffed. They're eager for action, but they're not getting any love.
Yeah, not a whole lot of love for the Mewtwo's. I mean, Mewtwo X has not seen the light of day in a very, very long time, and especially with Delmise coming out to Pokemon Unite. I mean, like, you got your hook Pokemon that is literally, that's what it does, and Mewtwo X is crying in the club somewhere. Don't even talk about Zeraora, you know, that's also a pull Pokemon as well. But yeah, we haven't seen the Mega Evolving Mewtwo's in quite some time. I think it was since they have lost one of their held item slots, but we'll talk about them another time because they're not going to be here. But what is here is Spinal. What is here is IF Gaming, and we have our losers finals game 3 of the INGAGE Ultra Series in your face.
Yeah, Charizard going to be that central laner for Infamous Gaming, and no surprise to see Talonflame doing that for Spinal here. But what is a little surprising there is how much this Pikachu's already dominating down in this bottom lane. Poor little Dwebble has to back up.
You know, the Pikachu is one of those Pokemon that has an early game ability that might be on par, if not better, than its late game abilities. Electro Web is just such a good
Oh,
ability. Like it
it
might be even
is.
better than like Bolt Tackle in some situations. You can knot it up, you get webbed. It is so frustrating to deal with in this early game.
It is, but we are also 9 minutes now. We're now only 12 seconds away from our 850 birds. This is the pivotal moment for which makes or breaks a game there. But we have Psyduck already caught. Oh no, it's Eevee. Eevee's causing mayhem all the way over for Infamous Gaming. Finally goes down, but Miraidon's not in the top where it needs to be.
In this picture in picture here on either. I don't even know which one to cast. Of all cast left one, you cast the right one. We got three
All
members
right.
in the bottom path for Spinal. Here comes Jo running through that central area. Aramis in the top path, still getting those stacks over the Mega Charizard. One away, and now another three away before that Mega Charizard enters the field.
But we got a nice little invade coming in here. It's a free for all from Infamous Gaming. They take down the Buzzball as we get full screen on this action because what deserves full screen action? Invades!
Yeah, a massive invade here by Infamous Gaming is going to take that red buff and steal that over to their side of the field. Buzzwell OG back on the field at level 5 has superpower available to them. You can use that Mega Punch to pull that Bunnelby over to the left side of the field. Huge pivot here for Spinal into the central air. Is going to find that Regidrago already at 50%. Nice Brave Bird is going to find that Charmeleon. Is going to send them to Nurse Joy. And Pikachu able to get that secure for the team.
Listen, I would say I'm surprised Pikachu got it, but it's Pikachu. We all know just how deadly Electro Ball can be, but what most people do underestimate is how deadly a Thunder can be, especially in a secure option. You got a lot of damage raining down here. And speaking of damage, Buzzwole is helping to help this Umbreon to perform some really mean, unspeakable things to the Zacian.
Yeah, a lot of crowd control just in that top path between those two Pokemon. Mean Look is going to lock down that Charizard. Here comes a Brave Bird Talonflame. Yeah, that Mean Look sets up that Brave Bird really well. But, I mean, take a look at this. The reverse Uno card has a 2 KO streak going over to that Miraidon player. Level 8 on both the formerly called EX Pokemon and now level 8 on the Mega Charizard. One away from the Mega Charizard available on the field.
But Miraidon is going to be the first with its Unite move, followed by the Talonflame, Bright Future Meteor Storm, going to be very pivotal in any sort of pad push our teams might make. Buzzwole's doing everything they can into the top side there, but Charizard's pushing them out. But Spinal just says, fine, you want the top, you can have the top. We'll take Regieleki and we'll push the bottom. Your Zacian's down here, so is your Crustle. That's okay, we'll take them too.
All right, 3-player push here, more like just getting vision on the Regieleki, bouncing to the tier 1 goal zone. I think that's Pure, one of the defenders there. On the Umbra, I know it's JL getting some vision in the top part of that bottom path. Oh, it's going to be pulled back by that Psychic, and one of the defenders are down. Pure still has their passive ability available to them, missing out on the Wood Hammer, and also the Horn Leech. Looks like both defenders are being chopped at its sides, and here comes IF Gaming.
Yeah, Mega Charizard has made its first appearance in battle right now. The Flame Sweep comes through as it's going to take them down, but they only bring it back. The Kidnaps weren't able to connect, and we're going to take the Buzzwole down with a Bright Future Meteor Storm.
Mega Charizard about to elapse on their Mega Evolution. It doesn't even matter. They get knocked out anyway and gets put in a blender by all the crowd control that Spinal has. Let's see what Spinal decides to do here. Their Buzzwole is in the top path. I think they're not going to go for a push forward as they do see both the Zacian and the Miraidon in that bottom path. As the dust settles, we're about to head into the halfway point of the game. Infamous Gaming about 2 times more in points than Spinal. OG is going to take all the birds to themselves. Spinal pivoting up to the top path, getting ready for this Reggie to appear.
Yeah, our supporters, though, our light bulbs on the side of Infamous Gaming are finally ticking into their Unite moves. This is going to be very pivotal because it's going to allow a lot of supportive setups to do that. The Rubble Rouser with Reflect damage, Sai for some really damage reduction there from the other team. So it's going to be nice and interesting to see how Infamous is going to come into this because they're already in the lead and they're already in position to take the top Reggie.
Kind of a huge net here by Spinal, getting vision in the middle part of the map. Reggie Rock is going to be chopped down by the steel blade of Tinta on their Zacian. Spinal taking a look in the bottom path. The Megastone once again glowing bright, glowing hot. It's going to take the Talonflame for a ride. They're going to be sent back to the central areas. They're going to get put in a bubble by this Umbreon, and they get KO'd off screen there by the Talonflame. So like I was saying, that mean look puts them in a really nice target for this Brave Bird to almost guarantee a hit onto at least one Pokemon.
Yeah, Charizard was running because they saw it was coming, but the Charge Beam's coming through. Charizard's not the only threat. Miraidon is here, and they got another Bright Future Meteor Storm in the pocket, ready to take them down, ready to chunk them down, ready to put the Umbreon Wish through the bases.
Here comes Infamous Gaming. 5-player, make that a 6-player push there if Charizard decides to join the fray here. Regieleki knocking on the door of Spinal, but they are looking fairly healthy. They are going to be able to push this one in. About a minute 45 before the final stretch, they will collapse this goal zone. I actually don't know if they have enough points there. Miraidon, yeah, they do just have enough points. It wasn't a huge overcap, but it will give them exactly a 100-point lead. Spinal will close that lead, 47 coming in from the Buzzwole, and it's about a 30-ish point lead, 35 to be exact.
Reggie Drago is here for the last time here, and there's going to be Infamous Gaming collapsing on it, but Spinal is collapsing as well. They're looking for the Secura, but it's not going to come out, so they're going to be looking for the KOs right there on the Zacian. The Brave Bird takes it down, but the Grusto comes in with the X-Scissor, and it's a 2 KO streak for the Psyduck. That waterfowl says, listen, Umbreon, who's going to show you who's more foul around here?
Oh, Thunder coming clapping down on the Pikachu. No matter it being electric-type Pokemon, Pierre is going to get a taste of his own medicine as X-Scissor finds the CC and finds the knockout there is Infamous Gaming. They have a lot of momentum going into the final stretch as Groudon appears in 45 seconds. Level 13 on the Talonflame, level 13 on the Miraidon. Still waiting on some 13s for specifically the Zacian and that Charizard, but they should get there in the next 30 or so seconds.
I mean, what they got birds down there, that should help a lot there as well. But Regice could have also helped there, but Spinal says, this is ours. We really want this. So Infamous just says, you know what? This isn't the Groudon fight yet. We're going to back off. We already have some nice vision from the Trevenant in their Pure, doing good job, allowing Spinal to take that early setup.
Regice, real nice here. The Walmart Kyogre buff, even though Kyogre's not here, at least on this map right now. But like I was saying, 35 points separates these two teams. 2 minutes separates one team from victory in the grand finals, and seeing themselves going home is the other. And still looking at each other on either side of the battlefield. This time, Infamous Gaming on the bottom half, Spinal on the top.
Yeah, Zacian going for the quick pivot home. They're going to say, listen, I could use a few more points, get that level 13, then I'm going to come back. Spinal hasn't scouted it out yet, but they are slowly collapsing. They're rotating in as Infamous Gaming keeps grouping up. The X-Scissor comes in, and there's the superpower, followed up by the smackdown there, but it's not going to amount to anything. We're trying to get back on the Pikachu, but the Rebel Rouser coming out. We're going in hard as the Zacian is now in trouble. Umbreon and Talonflame looped around, found it down, and they're going to say, we can take you out.
The two frontiers of battle have formed on the left and right side of the ground on pin. Zacian the first to go down. Here comes the superpower Mega Evolution coming at you as Mega Charizard joins the fray and immediately gets knocked out by the Talonflame. And here comes Spinal on their way to the grand finals. Unless the Miraidon has something to say about it. Do they have the enhanced charge beam available to them? Vin probably having that Brave Bird ready to go. Flareons, and here comes the Unite move. Can they get it here? No! Talonflame soaring away, soaring to the right side of the field with shields in tow, and soaring to the grand finals is Spinal from North America.
Listen, I know Infamous Gaming, this is a sour moment for you, but I gotta admit, it was pretty funny to see Zacian go in there and just get instant deleted the moment they lost the crowd on. It was so close, though, but oh my gosh, with 20 seconds left, they could still come in for a buff there, but it does look like it's not going to be the case. Too many people down, not enough points in the pocket, and it will be Spinal joining CACM for the rematch and grand
run back
finals
of the weekend. CACM and Spinal will be your grand finals appearances for the INGAGE Ultra Series. And a huge congratulations to our North American team. But, you know, honestly, IF Gaming had such a wonderful grand or losers final set. Honestly, I got super excited to see that Crustle get 3 Pokemon with that X Scissor, but that Zacian was I think it was the Zacian kind of pinned down on the right side of the field and no one able to pivot around that. Siva's had a
Yeah.
huge engagement with that Zacian all on its lonesome, getting basically 2v1 by Vin and JL on their various Pokemon. Could not get anything going off that Crustle X Scissor.
Yeah, they were not able to follow up and collapse, even though Seabitch did a great job. Portinta was caught off guard as they were trying to come back from getting their level 13. The Umbreon and Talonflame did a really great job looping around and just being like, listen, it's not a Mega Charizard, but we could take this. And they absolutely full sent that. Look at the healing from that Umbreon JL coming in with 57k and Vin capping out 67k damage onto that talent.